So Caitlin Clark is currently injured, and today we're going to be talking a little bit about viewership. Am I late to this? I'm so late to this. I don't know how late I am to this. I literally was like thinking, why have I heard nothing about why have I like not heard anything about this? And then I see it all over my Twitter. Christine Brennan tweeted it out 7 hours ago. The reason was it was during my like bi-weekly 2K stream. During my bi-weekly 2K stream is when this happened. So anyway, we are going to be talking about it right here because I think it is important to have some context here. So the TV viewership for the Wednesday Fever Mystics game without Caitlin Clark tells a story. 357K on NBA TV. 8 days earlier, also on NBA TV, 581,000 watched Clark and Fever play at the Dream. So there are two very, very real things, and one very negative and one very positive. Like, the very positive thing is that this is, if I'm not mistaken, the highest NBA TV game that, the highest NBA TV game, ratings-wise, that did not involve Caitlin Clark. I'm not 100% sure, but I think it was. I think it is the highest that did not involve Caitlin Clark, which is mad. Honestly, kind of mad. At the same time, it's clearly less than without Caitlin Clark. So the negative is that Caitlin Clark herself is going to draw a couple of 100,000 viewers. And I think another negative is that the Indiana Fever play puke ball. Even with Caitlin Clark this season, they play puke basketball. No question about that. Like I've criticized plenty of teams for playing what I believe is puke ball. I believed that the last season the Aces and the Connecticut Sun both played puke ball, and it seems like the coach for the Connecticut Sun has decided to try turn the Indiana Fever to the Connecticut Sun. But as I've said plenty of times, Alyssa Thomas is not walking through that door. Bree Jones is not walking through that door. Dejanay Carrington is not walking through that door. So you can't play slow down, gritty basketball, which is what it appears Stephanie White is trying to play with the Fever, because they've done that. Even with Caitlin Clark playing. But this is the biggest thing as well. This is the biggest thing. Chicago Sky drew 101,000 viewers last season against the Wings. 101,000 for the Sky against the Wings. Like, people don't understand how good 357,000 for NBA TV is. Like, I'm pretty sure there might be only 10 NBA games this year on NBA TV that have pulled in more viewership on that network than a Caitlin Clarkless Fever game. So, you can look, it depends on what way you can look at this. However, this does also stop the argument of the WNBA need to stop being so reliant on one person, because if that one person goes, the league is screwed. Because even with that one person gone, their team has still gotten big. Because organically, people like the Fever. People are a fan of that team. Just like, we cannot forget what happened in 1994. We cannot forget what happened during the 1994 All-Star voting process. So, B.J. Armstrong was the starting point guard for the Chicago Bulls. Michael Jordan had retired. And even with Michael Jordan being retired, the Bulls were still one of the most supported teams, if not the most supported team, because of all the people that were there from Michael Jordan. And because of that, B.J. Armstrong, because they all were Bulls fans, was voted as an all-star starter. Was B.J. Armstrong good? Yeah. But I think B.J. Armstrong himself will probably say he wasn't the best point guard in the Eastern Conference that year. I'm trying to even think who was there in the 90s. Who was there in 1993 at the one? I'm blanking. Was Mark Price still in his prime? There's so many. Was Tim Hardaway in the East at that stage, or had he still been with the Warriors? I'm blanking. So if B.J. Armstrong himself wants to get angry at this, he's got my... Well, he's 1 degree of separation away from me. He can get my contact details and go with me. And if I'm wrong, I'll hear him out if he wants to go berserk at me for making that statement. But that's the thing. The Bulls were still the most popular team in the NBA without Michael Jordan, even though almost all those Chicago Bulls fans outside of Chicago obviously became Bulls fans because of Michael Jordan. So they were still the biggest team without Michael Jordan, and the Fever are still the biggest team. They're still the biggest team without Caitlin Clark. Like, there's not one other team that is pulling in these viewers. There's not. There is not another team in the WNBA that is going to be able to pull in these viewers on NBA TV than the Indiana Fever, even without Caitlin Clark. Even without Caitlin Clark, they're a bigger view draw than the Liberty. They're a bigger view draw than the Valkyries. Even though, showing up for Valkyries home games, Valkyries are going to pack out their home games because, let's be real, the Golden State Valkyries, they're in San Fran. It's a new organization, all this stuff. And it'll be similar with the Toronto Tempo and the Portland, at this stage, basketball team. No one knows what they're going to be called next year. But yeah, it is one of those things where I do feel that it's important. I feel all around that it's an important one to make that, to also talk about it. Like, it's not, the sky isn't falling. Like, you can look at this in two different ways. You can look at it like, yes, the team is reliant on Caitlin Clark. They're incredibly reliant on Caitlin Clark for record viewership. But they still have a huge fan base without Caitlin Clark, which is something that is inarguable. You cannot argue that the Indiana Fever do not have the biggest fan base in WNBA, even when Caitlin Clark is hurt. And even in the arena, looking at the arena, it looked like there were people that literally went and bought a whole bunch of tickets and never showed up because there were chunks of the stadium missing. There was only 3,000 out of 14,000 people. There was 2,500 spare seats, but because they were all in chunks and near the court, so maybe companies bought a lot of courtside seats, spent a bunch of money on them. Maybe people spent a bunch of money on a whole bunch of courtside seats for a group, and none of them showed up. That seems to have happened, but it was still pretty damn good attendance, if we're being honest. It was still pretty good attendance. So yeah, that's pretty much it, lads. That is pretty much it. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Do you guys think this is a positive? Do you guys think it's a negative? Or do you guys think it is a bit of both? My opinion is 100% that it is a bit of both. It is a bit of both. You can look at it whatever way you want. And if you want to take it as a positive, great. If you want to take it as a negative, great. Or, well, if you want to take it as a negative, I'm not going to say great, but who cares? But anyway, yeah, that's the video. I'll see you guys.